Hello, welcome or welcome back. This video is going to be a little bit different than what I usually do. But, yeah. So, everything I say is completely speculation. There are some incidences around Moscow that have really just been sticking with me. I know the police say that the dog Buddy and the dead coyotes had nothing to do with what happened, but I find it almost hard to believe that there's a person who killed 4 people in a house. There's another person who killed and skinned a dog, and then there is someone else who put dead coyotes and blood on the property of another fraternity. And all 3 of these aren't connected. The farther this case goes without any conclusion whatsoever, the more I believe that the person who did this probably doesn't have a clear motive. They're possibly a serial killer, a wannabe serial killer, maybe this is their first time, which is pretty scary because for a serial killer to exist in this day and age with all the cameras and all everything and to get away with killing 4 people, I don't know. I believe that if a month goes by, if it's December 13th and they still don't have any suspects or anybody in custody, I think that this could be a possible serial killer. The story of Buddy really stuck out to me. There's this tiny dog, and somebody took the dog and purposefully skinned this animal. And to me, if all 3 of these situations are connected, to me, the dead coyotes and the dog seem like a test. Like, they wanted, it's kind of like a burglar. You know, somebody goes out and they steal stuff from cars, and then they start entering houses, and then after they enter the houses, they start maybe assaulting or killing occupants in the house. A lot of serial killers will gradually escalate their crimes. And I feel like this is almost a good indication of something like that. I know the police have said that there's no tie between these, but I really find that hard to believe. It's like a good example of this is the Golden State Killer. Now, a lot of people didn't hear about the Golden State Killer, and I think maybe it's because his names were a little bit obscure. They weren't really catchy. They weren't, I forgot what his first one, or what his second one was, but I think he was like the East something rapist. He would rape his victims, and then he started killing his victims. And then somebody at a town meeting said, "Oh, he doesn't attack when there's a man in the house. He doesn't attack when there's a man in the house." And they basically said, like, he's a wimp. So he started attacking women when the husbands were home. He started putting plates on the husband's back and said, "If I hear these crash, I'm going to kill you all." But to be honest, I can't remember any of his other names. I can remember, it's like the East something's, I don't know. But the Golden State Killer, that's obviously, everybody knows who that is, but a lot of killers do this. And that's another reason why I think this person is young, because they have started out with their criminal activities and they haven't been caught. Well, I'm gonna be looking through images and everything, and kind of talking about my perspective on everything. So this is Buddy. He is absolutely adorable. It says a dog was killed and skinned just 3 miles from where the 4 University of Idaho students were slaughtered. And the thing about this dog is that he is so tiny. He's a mini Australian Shepherd. He's so tiny that if somebody wanted to commit these acts, they could take the dog, do what they did to the dog, and then conceal the body by burying him. They could have brought him home alive. But the dog was left kind of close to the house that he lived at. Not like extremely close. I'm not positive where the dog was found, but the dog was found with fur on his legs and his face. So he was skinned like an animal, like a deer. And this is strange because it shows that whoever did this, obviously they did it intentionally. They left the dog in the open intentionally. They wanted whoever found this dog to know that this was a human who did this. They could have easily buried or concealed this crime, but they didn't. To me, it feels like they are trying to test the waters. Like, they want to see if they can get away with something like this. Now, this is way far out there, but this is my speculation. I think the person who did this to the dog lived somewhere in the vicinity of Buddy. The reason I believe that is because I believe this act was a test to see if it would be tied to this person. If anybody would call this person out, or police would come and have conversations with them. I think they wanted to see, they could get away with something like this. Very, very odd. And I obviously, one of the signs of a possible future serial killer is enjoyment of harming and mutilating animals. So It's very bizarre that you have somebody doing stuff like this in a place where 4 people were killed. It's just, I don't know. It's worth looking into. And then, let's see, so I'm not sure when Buddy was killed, but I think it was a couple of years before what happened, November 13th, 2022. But in the same small town, 25,000 people, I believe, I don't really know too much, but we have this article. Dead coyotes found on University of Idaho fraternity sorority doorstep. Moscow, and then it says this post was from February 15th, 2017. So 5 years ago, this happened. And then a couple years later, the dog happened. Buddy happened. And now we have Moscow police are searching for the person responsible for leaving coyote carcasses on the doorstep of University of Idaho Greek system houses over the weekend, including the house Pi Kappa Phi. We were really, unsure why that was happening, but we got rid of it, said Pi Kappa Phi President Ethan Ennis. Moscow police say on January 20th, a student left a coyote carcass at a sorority as part of a drunken dare. It's still unclear if this incident is related. We don't have enough information as to who actually committed it, so we don't know if it's a continuation of that prank or someone else doing something, said Moscow Police Captain Tyson Barrett. Ennis says these coyote killings were pretty gruesome. The coyote's body was mangled, and he says the sorority across the street got it even worse. Ennis said at Pi Beta Phi there was more blood on the doorstep. Some even smeared on a window, police said. It appears the coyotes were shot, which is not illegal in Idaho. In the state of Idaho, all you need is a hunting license. You don't need a tag or anything like that, and you can hunt on public land, said Barrett. Now students are left baffled as to who could be responsible. It was interesting because I thought it was just a one-time thing that happened a couple weeks ago with someone. But now that it's happened a couple times, it was definitely something, unusual, said Ennis. Police said placing these carcasses is a misdemeanor crime punishable by a $100 fine. We do have a person of interest. We're still interviewing our first suspect to see if he has any connection to these other 4, said Barrett. Now, people who live at the fraternity want whoever is doing this to know they aren't amused. It might just be like someone thinks it's a funny prank, but it is, quite a serious thing, said Ennis. So, placing dead carcasses and smearing blood is a misdemeanor crime where you could get a $100 fine. I'm pretty sure the Buddy thing was animal cruelty, which you could actually end up going to prison for. Going up to a doorstep and putting dead carcasses of coyotes is... And I know you're probably thinking maybe like, well, he didn't use a knife on the coyotes. Well, chasing down a coyote and killing it with a knife it's not going to happen. I believe whoever did this does have prior knowledge of hunting experience. But, I mean, a drunken dare, you know, you could have a drunk person put a dead coyote on somebody's doorstep, and then those people decide to put a dead coyote on their doorstep, and then, you know, you got a bunch of dead coyotes going back and forth. But I think what is odd about this is, let's see, Pi Kappa Pi Phi or whatever, they're the ones that got the first coyote. The drunken dare, they must have admitted to what happened. The second ones, they were described as pretty gruesome. The bodies were mangled. Pi Beta Phi. Yeah, the second time Pi Beta Phi had one on their doorstep, and it looks like Pi Kappa Phi had another one on their doorstep. It would be interesting to know if Pi Beta Phi was the sorority house involved with the drunken coyote incident, and then somebody decided to do the same thing a couple weeks later and put one on Pi Beta Phi and Pi Kappa Phi's doorstep, as to make sure it's like, hey, this isn't a retaliation, this isn't the same prank we did last week, it's different, it's more than that, which is really, really strange. Yep, so there's where Buddy lived, and then we got 3 miles to King Road. This is where it starts getting kind of creepy. This is the Pi Kappa Phi sorority, and this is the King Road house. So you have 0.6 miles, 14-minute walk. And I know, like, you know, sorority houses, they're going to be kind of around the university. So it's not that big of a deal. But it's so creepy. This is the locations. These yellow lines are the locations where the police are looking for video cameras, which, if you look at this arboretum and botanical gardens, maybe there's like a building, or I doubt there's very many cameras in this area. I mean, there might be a deer hunting camera or trail camera, something like that, but you know, there's probably more cameras down this road, probably not that many on the highway, probably definitely some like in this restaurant area, apartment buildings, maybe there will be a lot of cameras there, some cameras here. But if I was gonna do something like this, parking in this area right here and then walking, maybe not through these houses, but through here, going across here, walking through this tree area, come into this tree area, going through that tree area. That seems like if you were trying to avoid house cameras, that seems like a way you could do that. If you look right here, this is where Ethan and Zaina were. And it's kind of a bare area over here. See, there's not much. There's a golf course. So I would probably be focusing on this area too, if there isn't any cameras catching any weirdos here. I think whoever did this probably planned this out pretty good, otherwise they would be caught by now. If you look at this area right here where the coyote thing happened, it's kind of hard to believe that someone brought dead coyote carcasses to this location and put the carcasses on a sorority house, and then nobody seen nothing. Nothing. That's very, very weird. Obviously, places that are food locations, they are going to be areas with more cameras. So like this, businesses are obviously afraid of somebody breaking in and getting away with their money and stuff. So this right here is the corner club. I am not sure where the food truck would have been. Maybe, I guess it doesn't matter too much. But that's the corner club. And then this is the King Road house. The girls, they had a lot more space to travel. They had a lot more cameras, a lot more location to cover. Where Zaina and Ethan were literally a skip hopping across the way in a more desolate area, which is why there is a solid timeline for Kaylee and Madison, whereas Ethan and Zaina, they probably stayed at the party for a little bit, maybe left, walked home, and they were probably home way before 1:45. But I do believe whoever did this, if they do have a connection with coyotes on the sorority thing at the sorority houses, I believe that they were probably targeting college students. They probably heard about the prank, the coyote prank, and maybe they found out what the penalty was for it. Maybe they wanted to see if they could get away with it and not be found out about doing something like this. And it was like this person was probably mutilating animals in the shadows, and then they seen this and they're like, they kind of wanted to test the waters to see, okay, can I get away with this? It's like when a burglar decides to eventually assault their victim. But burglary is such a brazen thing anyway. Going into somebody's house and stealing things it's obviously an invasion of somebody's privacy, their personal life. It's very anti-social. It's something where you're not thinking about the other people. You might be thinking about getting caught, but you have that rush, and it can be exciting for someone, but it can also be a way to say, okay, I can do this. What else can I do? So this person, they probably grew up in this town they're younger, they hear about this, it kind of excites them that maybe I could get away with this. And if I did get caught, I'm only going to get whatever. So this person is graduated from mutilating and dismembering animals to transporting those animals and violating somebody's space with them. They violated somebody's house. They carried these dead animals up to somebody's porch. They smeared blood on the houses. So it's like a way of taking these animals that have been hunted, and it's accepted to hunt them, to bring them to these doorsteps and vandalize. And I honestly believe that it was put on 2 doorsteps. Maybe I would really be interested to find out what sorority the first coyote came from, just to see if the placement of both coyotes was kind of like a way to say this wasn't retaliation. This wasn't prank being redone. I don't know. It's very bizarre. Or if the King Road murders, the dog Buddy, and the coyotes were interconnected somehow. I believe that Buddy, which happened around this area, I believe that this person literally lives probably around this location. Now, I seen a map that showed the locations like this, but I think this is north, this is east, this is south, and this is west. So I thought that maybe this was, I thought this was the east, so I thought the person probably lived to the east. But this is south. So maybe the person lives in one of these farmhouse-like areas. But I think that if this person was testing the waters to see if they would be a suspect in something more not socially acceptable, something more egregious, I believe that this person knew the people who owned the dog, the people who owned Buddy, and probably lived close by, or at least knew the family, maybe worked with them, or was a neighbor, or something. I don't know. It's very, very, very strange. This right here is where I got the locations, the information on the roads that the police officers are really interested in as far as cameras and everything go, which is kind of interesting because if you look at, so it's a little bit interesting on where the police are focusing getting cameras from, because this is where the girls had to travel from to get home. And then you got over here, so they don't believe that their suspect followed these people home. They believe that this was a planned incident. It wasn't just some random person. This person was planning this, biding their time. But I hate to say it, but if he was targeting university students, this person might have visited the house at night, might have done something small and weird just to see if there were cameras maybe, or, you know, this person, I mean, you park right here, park somewhere in this forest area. These houses aren't going to be seeing your car. The cameras on these houses aren't going to see your car if you park over here. And then you get out and you walk. You avoid the houses. Walk through here. Go through. Cut through here. Cut through here, because most cameras are facing out or behind of houses. You go through here and you cut through these trees. Of course, you're gonna have to cross the road here, but look at there's no houses whatsoever that would be right at this path. And I mean, you got this too, but the trees are less dense here. You're walking along a road. You gotta avoid these houses, so it seems more likely that. So I think maybe they were targeted because, you know, they're really attractive women. I think this is somebody who maybe not recently, but has often walked this area just to kind of see what's going on here. They're probably somebody who really enjoys going through this area, or maybe not enjoys, but someone who has extensive knowledge of this area. My wildest theory, I guess, would probably be that they live around here. Outdoorsy, farmer type, someone who really overly enjoys hunting. I'm very surprised that the Taylor Road is the only one up here that they're interested in. You think that maybe this or this road, or, you know, this road would be of interest. I mean, I know that they're kind of putting a square around the house, but it's also interesting that, you know, they don't have this area of interest. Like any of these roads around here, they're more focused on this. Cameras from this angle. Obviously, this is all speculation. I am not an FBI agent. I'm not a forensic psychologist. Nothing. I do, however, have the bragging rights of studying serial killers for almost 2 decades, just as a hobby. And I mean, as far as studying, reading books, watching documentaries, sometimes I'll watch some YouTube videos, or like, I guess a good example would be the Jeffrey Dahmer show. I'll be watching these shows and I will say, that's not how it happened. I'm pretty sure this is what it was, you know, because I mean, there are not very many cases that I haven't heard of. Really. I mean, obviously there are a lot, but the more interesting, criminally and psychologically and serial killer, I do like to make connections between cases, like Dennis Nielsen and Jeffrey Dahmer. Sometimes cases are so similar. It gets very interesting. And I was thinking about doing more case studies on oddly similar cases. So if you'd be interested in that, let me know. We'll do like comparisons and stuff.